Emma and Henry Chen lived in a cozy old farmhouse surrounded by oak trees and colorful flower gardens. On the morning of their 50th wedding anniversary, sunlight streamed through the kitchen windows as Emma, her silver hair pulled back in a simple bun, poured coffee into Henry's favorite mug. "Happy anniversary, my love," Henry said, with a gentle smile, sliding a small box across the wooden table. Even after half a century together, he still looked at her with complete adoration. Emma opened the box to find a handcrafted wooden brooch. "You made this?" she asked, touching the delicate carving of intertwined roses. "Been working on it for weeks in the shed," Henry admitted. "Thought it would match your Sunday dress." Emma pinned it to her blouse, her eyes growing misty. "It's perfect." Despite being worth billions, the Chuns lived modestly. Their wealth came from Henry's groundbreaking water filtration system he'd invented in their garage decades ago. Emma, with her sharp business mind, had transformed his invention into Chun Clean Technologies, now a global corporation. "Our grandson, Liam's graduation is next weekend," Emma mentioned, sipping her coffee. 18 already. Hard to believe. Henry nodded, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "Our first grandchild finishing high school. What should we get him?" "I've been thinking about that. He's always admired my pocket watch, the one my father gave me." Henry pulled out the antique timepiece. The gold was dulled from years of handling, the chain showing its age. "This old thing barely keeps time anymore," Henry said. "What if we had it restored and maybe added something special for his graduation?" Henry's face brightened. "Like what?" "Something he could pass down someday, too. Perhaps a custom engraving or setting a meaningful stone on the cover." They spent the morning discussing possibilities. Liam was heading to college to study engineering, following in his grandfather's footsteps. He'd grown up listening to Henry's stories, sitting beside him in the workshop, learning to create with his hands. "There's that fancy jewelry store downtown," Henry suggested. "The one with the Italian name." "Brilliant Gems," Emma corrected with a smile. "Not Italian, dear. They do custom work." "Saw it in the paper." Emma nodded. "We could go today." "I have that check to drop off at the children's hospital anyway." They didn't drive their luxury cars much. Henry preferred his old pickup truck, and Emma drove a modest sedan. Their home, while comfortable, wasn't a mansion. They'd never seen the point of extravagance. After breakfast, Emma changed into her favorite lavender outfit, a simple button-up jacket and matching pants she'd owned for years. Henry wore what he always wore, denim overalls over a work shirt with his trusty leather jacket and gray cap. "Should we dress up a bit more?" Emma asked, glancing at her husband's attire. Henry shrugged. "Why? We're just going to talk about a watch." "You're right," Emma said, slipping her wedding band, her only piece of jewelry, onto her finger. No reason to be fancy. Their wealth wasn't obvious. Nothing about their appearance suggested they could buy the entire shopping district without blinking. Henry's calloused hands and sun-weathered face spoke of hard work, not luxury. Emma's simple hairstyle and minimal makeup belonged to a woman who valued practicality. As they drove downtown in Henry's old truck, they chatted about Liam's upcoming graduation party, the new rosebush Emma wanted to plant, and Henry's latest woodworking project. Neither gave a second thought to their appearance as they parked and walked toward Brilliant Gems. They'd never cared much about what others thought of them. Their lifestyle choices weren't about hiding their wealth. They simply preferred simplicity. Little did they know that their humble appearance was about to trigger a series of events that would leave the staff of Brilliant Gems wishing they'd never judged a book by its cover. Brilliant Gems gleamed like a temple of opulence. Crystal chandeliers threw prisms of light across marble floors. Glass cases displayed necklaces, rings, and bracelets that cost more than most people's homes. The air itself seemed expensive, perfumed with exclusivity. As Emma and Henry pulled open the heavy glass doors, a security guard in a tailored suit gave them a once-over, his expression shifting from alert to dismissive. The message was clear. People like them didn't belong. "Can I help you?" he asked, positioning himself subtly between them and the display cases. We're here about a custom piece, Emma explained politely. The guard hesitated, then nodded toward the reception desk. Check in over there. At the polished counter, a young woman with immaculate makeup glanced up, her welcoming smile freezing. When she saw them, her eyes flicked to her colleague, a silent message passing between them. Do you have an appointment? She asked, her voice cooling several degrees. No, we don't, Emma replied. We're interested in having an antique watch restored and customized. The receptionist's perfectly manicured fingers tapped at her. I see. Well, our master jewelers are quite busy. The wait for custom work is considerable. We're not in a hurry, Henry said, his tone friendly. It's for our grandson's graduation next weekend, but even if it takes longer, that's fine. Her eyebrows rose slightly. Custom pieces typically start at $20,000. Henry nodded calmly. That's fine. The receptionist seemed taken aback by his casual response, but recovered quickly. One moment, please. She retreated to a back office, whispering urgently to someone inside. Emma and Henry stood patiently, observing the other customers. A woman in a designer dress was trying on a diamond bracelet. A man in an Italian suit examined cufflinks through a jeweler's loop. Everyone looked like they'd stepped out of a luxury magazine, everyone except them. They think we can't afford anything here, Emma whispered, a hint of amusement in her voice. Henry squeezed her hand. Let them think what they want. The receptionist returned with a middle-aged man in an impeccably tailored suit. His name tag read, Victor Reed, manager. Good afternoon, Victor said, his eyes making the same dismissive assessment the others had. I understand you're interested in our custom services. Yes, Emma replied. We'd like to restore this pocket watch and perhaps add a special touch for our grandson. Henry pulled out the antique timepiece, placing it carefully on the counter. Victor barely glanced at it. I see. And what sort of budget did you have in mind for this project? Emma and Henry exchanged looks. We hadn't set a specific limit, Emma answered. Whatever it takes to make it special. Victor's smile didn't reach his eyes. Our artisans are among the finest in the world. Their work commands appropriate compensation. We understand, Henry said. Perhaps, Victor suggested, his tone condescending. You might be more comfortable at Timewise on Fifth Street. They offer more economical options. Emma's back straightened. We're here because we understand you're the best. Victor's smile tightened. Indeed, we are, which is why our clientele typically comes prepared for significant investment. By now, several customers had taken notice of the exchange. A woman in diamonds whispered to her companion. Two salespeople watched from behind their counters, smirking. Perhaps you could show us some examples of your restoration work, Emma suggested, refusing to be intimidated. Victor sighed, the sound heavy with inconvenience. Olivia, he called to a nearby associate, would you show these folks our vintage collection? The entry-level pieces? Olivia approached reluctantly, leading them to a small display case tucked in a corner. These are our more accessible items, she explained, emphasizing the word accessible as if it were synonymous with cheap. The entry-level watches still had 5-figure price tags. Henry examined them carefully, asking intelligent questions about mechanisms and craftsmanship that Olivia struggled to answer. Do you have anything with custom gemstone work? Emma inquired. Those pieces are in our premium collection, Olivia replied stiffly. Could we see them? Olivia glanced toward Victor, who gave an almost imperceptible shake of his head. I am afraid those are shown by appointment only to qualified buyers. Qualified buyers? Henry repeated. Yes, Olivia said, lowering her voice conspiratorially. We need to ensure serious interest before presenting our most exclusive pieces. Emma's eyes narrowed slightly. And how do you determine who's a serious buyer? Olivia fumbled. Well, typically our premium clients are, that is, they usually ... She trailed off, uncomfortable with articulating the store's unspoken policy of judging customers by their appearance and pedigree. The tension was broken by a crash. as a young sales associate dropped a tray of cleaning cloths nearby. All eyes turned briefly to the commotion, but Emma noticed Victor making a subtle, wrap it up gesture to Olivia. The message was clear. Get rid of them. Victor Reed had dealt with browsers before people who wandered in with no intention or ability to purchase anything. In his 20 years at Brilliant Gems, he developed a sixth sense for who belonged and who didn't, and these two definitely didn't belong. He approached Emma and Henry with practiced poise. I believe there's been a misunderstanding, he said, smoothly. Our restoration services require a substantial deposit, $5,000. Non-refundable, just to begin the assessment. Henry raised an eyebrow. That seems steep for an assessment. Quality assurance, Victor replied with a dismissive wave. It prevents our artisans from wasting time on speculative projects. Emma's expression remained pleasant, but her eyes had cooled. I see. And is this policy posted somewhere? I don't recall seeing it mentioned. Victor's smile tightened. It's standard practice for our level of clientele. By now, a small crowd had gathered to watch the interaction. Other customers, security personnel, and several staff members. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows, catching on diamonds, and crystal creating an almost theatrical spotlight on the unfolding scene. Perhaps, Victor continued, voice rising slightly to ensure others could hear, you'd be more comfortable somewhere that aligns better with your means. A titter of laughter came from a well-dressed couple nearby. The woman whispered something to her companion, who smirked in response. Emma stood perfectly still, her dignity intact despite the humiliation. Henry's weathered hand found hers, giving it a gentle squeeze. We're just looking to have a family heirloom restored, Henry said, calmly. If you're not interested in our business, it's not a question of interest. Victor interrupted, his voice dripping with condescension. It's a question of suitability. Brilliant Gems has a reputation to maintain. Our pieces are investments. Not, he glanced pointedly at Emma's wooden brooch. Costume jewelry. The insult hung in the air. A female employee behind the counter didn't even try to hide her smirk. The security guard moved closer, anticipating the need to escort them. Out? Now see here, Henry began, his voice rising slightly. Victor raised a hand. Please, sir, there's no need for a scene. He turned to the security guard. Marcus, please show these people out. You're asking us to leave? Emma asked, her voice steady despite the public humiliation. I'm suggesting that everyone's time would be better served if you explored options more appropriate for your ... situation. Victor's eyes flicked to Henry's worn overalls, then to Emma's simple attire. We cater to a certain clientele. The security guard stepped forward. Sir, ma'am, if you'll come with me. Emma stood her ground. This is discrimination. This is a private business, Victor countered, and I have every right to refuse service. Whispers rippled through the gathered crowd. Someone coughed awkwardly. A woman in designer clothes pretended to examine a bracelet, but her eyes remained fixed on the unfolding drama. I'd like to speak with the owner, Emma said, her voice firm. Victor laughed. The owner, Mr. Blackwood, wouldn't waste his time on this matter. Now please leave before I'm forced to call the authorities. The red velvet rope that separated the store entrance from the main showroom suddenly seemed like a barrier between two worlds, the world of luxury and privilege, and the world of ordinary people who didn't belong. Come on, Emma, Henry said softly. We'll go somewhere else. The security guard moved to escort them, but Victor stepped forward instead, clearly enjoying his moment of power. Allow me, he said, gesturing toward the door with exaggerated courtesy. As they walked through the showroom toward the exit, Emma and Henry felt the weight of every stare, heard every whispered comment. Victor walked behind them, a triumphant smile playing at his lips. At the door, he couldn't resist one final jab. Perhaps try them all, he suggested loudly. I believe they're having a sale on costume jewelry this weekend. More laughter followed. A young saleswoman with blonde hair actually covered her mouth to stifle a giggle. Emma paused at the threshold, turning to face Victor. Her expression wasn't angry. It was almost pitying. "You've made quite a mistake today," she said simply. Victor smirked. "The only mistake was assuming you could afford our services. Good day." The glass door swung shut behind them, leaving Emma and Henry standing on the sidewalk, the afternoon sun warm on their faces. Henry's arm went around Emma's shoulders. "I'm sorry, dear," he said. "We should have gone somewhere else." Emma's eyes had a strange gleam to them, not tears, but something closer to determination. "No," she replied, reaching into her purse. "I think we're exactly where we need to be." She pulled out her phone and pressed a single button. Emma's phone call was brief but decisive. "Philip, it's Emma Chen. Yes, I have brilliant gems downtown. Could you come by and bring Nolan with the papers?" She hung up and turned to Henry with a small smile. 5 minutes. Henry chuckled and shook his head. "Are you sure about this? 50 years together and you still ask me that." Emma's eyes twinkled. "Let's go sit on that bench. I want to see their faces." Inside the store, business had resumed. Victor was regaling several employees with an embellished version of what had just happened, mimicking Henry's posture and Emma's, voiced to appreciative laughter. And then she asked to speak to the owner, Victor chortled. As if Gregory Blackwood would waste his time on people who probably can't even afford the cleaning cloth we use. Olivia laughed along but glanced uncomfortably toward the door. Should we really have thrown them out like that? Victor dismissed her concern with a wave. "Trust me, I've been doing this for 20 years. You can spot time wasters a mile away. Those two probably saved for months just to walk in here." Outside, a sleek black Bentley pulled up to the curb. A uniformed driver opened the door for a distinguished man in his 60s wearing an impeccable suit. He was followed by a younger man carrying a leather portfolio. Together, they approached Emma and Henry on the bench. "Mrs. Chun," the older man said with a slight bow. "Mr. Chun, what can we do for you today?" Emma stood, straightening her simple lavender jacket. "Philip, thank you for coming so quickly. We've encountered a situation." Inside, the store had fallen silent. Through the glass frontage, everyone could see the Bentley, the driver, and the distinguished visitors now conversing. With the couple they just humiliated, who were they talking to? Olivia whispered, peering through the window. Victor squinted. "That's Philip Westbrook. He's one of the top financial advisors in the country." His confident demeanor faltered slightly. What would he be doing with them? The younger man in the group outside opened his portfolio, presenting papers for Emma to review. She nodded, signed something, and handed them to Henry, who added his signature. "What's happening?" a customer asked. All pretense of shopping abandoned as everyone watched the scene unfold. Victor's face had lost some of its color. "I'm not sure." Outside, Emma was speaking animatedly, gesturing toward the jewelry store. Philip Westbrook nodded gravely while the younger man took notes. Then, to everyone's shock, another vehicle pulled up, this one a Rolls-Royce with tinted windows. "That's Gregory Blackwood's car," Victor whispered, recognition dawning. "The owner?" Indeed, Gregory Blackwood, founder and CEO of the Brilliant Gems chain, emerged from the back seat. In his 70s, immaculately dressed, he spotted the group and broke into a wide smile. "Emma, Henry," he called, approaching with arms outstretched. What a delightful surprise. The blood drained from Victor's face as he watched his employer embrace the couple he'd just thrown out of the store. Inside, the atmosphere had shifted from amusement to alarm. Employees exchanged worried glances. Customers whispered behind their hands. Victor tugged at his collar, suddenly finding it too tight. "Who are those people?" Olivia demanded, her voice tight with anxiety, before Victor could answer. Emma, Henry, Philip Westbrook, the young assistant, and Gregory Blackwood all turned toward the store. Emma pointed directly at Victor through the window, and Gregory Blackwood's expression darkened visibly. The group began walking toward the entrance. "I think," Victor said, his voice barely audible, "we've made a terrible mistake." The security guard moved to open the door, his earlier disdain replaced with deference. As the door swung open, Victor found himself face to face with the couple he'd humiliated and his boss, who looked angrier than he'd ever seen him. Victor, Gregory Blackwood said, his voice dangerously quiet, "We need to talk." The atmosphere in Brilliant Gems had transformed completely. Where there had been smirks and whispers, now there was only stunned silence. Every eye was fixed on the unfolding scene. "Gregory," Emma said pleasantly, "we didn't expect to see you today." Gregory Blackwood's expression was a mix of delight toward the Chens and barely contained fury toward his staff. "When Philip called to say you were here, I couldn't believe it, and then he told me what happened." He turned to Victor, whose face had gone from pale to ashen. "Mr. Reed, do you have any idea who you just threw out of my store?" Victor swallowed hard. "I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding." "Indeed there has," Gregory agreed, his voice ice cold. "You've just insulted Emma and Henry Chan." The name dropped like a bomb in the silent showroom. Olivia gasped audibly. A customer's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. "Chen," Victor repeated weakly. "As in Chung Clean Technologies," Philip Westbrook confirmed, adjusting his glasses. "The company currently valued at approximately $87 billion. Murmurs rippled through the store. Chung Clean Technologies was a household name. Their water filtration systems were in millions of homes, hospitals, and businesses worldwide. Their humanitarian work had been featured in countless news stories. But Victor stammered, looking frantically between the elderly couple and his boss. "They don't look like billionaires." Emma finished for him, her voice gentle but firm. "And how exactly should billionaires look, Mr. Reed?" Victor had no answer. Henry, who had remained quiet until now, spoke up. "We came in to have my grandfather's watch restored for our grandson." He pulled out the antique timepiece again. "It's not worth much in dollars, but it means the world to our family." Gregory Blackwood took the watch, examining it with reverence. "It would be our honor to restore this for you, Henry. No charge, of course. We'll pay full price," Emma insisted. "We don't want special treatment." Gregory smiled sadly. "From what I understand, special treatment is precisely what you received. Today, just not the kind anyone should want." The young man with the portfolio stepped forward. "Mrs. Chen, the papers you signed?" "Ah, yes," Emma nodded. "Gregory, we've just finalized the donation for the Children's Hospital wing. $50 million, as discussed." Victor looked like he might faint. "How wonderful!" Gregory exclaimed. "The Blackwood Chun Pediatric Center will help so many families." "That was today's errand before we stopped here," Emma explained. "We thought we'd make a day of it and take care of Liam's graduation gift, too." The revelation hit everyone like a thunderbolt. This unassuming couple had just casually donated $50 million before stopping to shop for their grandson. "I think," Gregory said, turning to Victor with steel in his voice, "you owe Mr. and Mrs. Chin an apology." Victor's professional composure had completely crumbled. I don't know what to say. I am deeply, terribly sorry for how you were treated. I made inexcusable assumptions. Not just about us," Emma replied. "Your attitude suggests you judge all your customers by their appearance? That's no way to treat anyone, regardless of their bank account." Olivia stepped forward, her eyes downcast. "I'm sorry, too. I was rude and dismissive." Emma nodded, accepting the apologies with grace. "We all make mistakes. What matters is learning from them." Gregory addressed the entire staff who had gathered. In a semicircle, today should serve as a powerful lesson. This company was built on respect for every person who walks through that door. He glanced at Victor. "Some personnel changes will be made, effective immediately." He turned back to Emma and Henry. "Now about that watch. I'd like our master jeweler to take a look. And perhaps you'd like to see some options for Liam's graduation." Emma smiled. "That would be lovely, Gregory." As the Cheeson staff scrambled to provide the best service they'd ever given, Henry leaned close to his wife and whispered, "Was all this really necessary?" Emma patted his hand. "Not for us, dear. But maybe for the next couple who walks in wearing overalls, instead of designer. Labels. Sometimes the wealthiest people aren't those flaunting their status. True character shows in how we treat others, regardless of appearance or social standing. Kindness and respect cost nothing, but their absence can cost everything, as Victor Reed learned the hard way.